total. So I don't have that many acres.
Yeah, it's that's us. We had a snake problem and a mice problem. Not no
Not as
more.
much. Where are you out of?
Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Sweet. All right, perfect. So we are live on YouTube. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's it. Cool.
Okay.
Let's get this ball rolling.
Right on.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. It'd help if I'd record.
Press that button.
Yeah, right. Press that big old glaring button right in front of my
The
face.
red one.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. I hope you're having a great day. You're listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Tersh Blissett. Today, we have Matthew Chambers with Podium. Matthew Chambers with Podium. Let's get a space in there. To on the show today, and I'm super excited to have him on the show. And for those of you who don't know, we are using Podium currently, but I'm going to be asking some questions that if I was in your shoes and kind of having questions about Podium. What is it? Where do you like? What is it used for? Is it a benefit? And what is it like? Does it have integrations and that type of stuff? But before we get started with all that goodness, Matthew, would you give us a little background of you and what makes you an expert about Podium and industry?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I started in the software world just over 10 years ago, getting in on the sales side. Gravitated to Podium a little over 4 years ago now. And at the time, they were a little startup. They had about 20 something employees. So I think I was their 6th or 7th sales guy or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was a great opportunity. Out here in the Salt Lake, Utah area, it's known as the Silicon Slopes. Because there's a lot of venture money that is pouring in and investment in these software companies. So I was looking for that type of opportunity, found it at Podium. In that time, just 4 years, we've grown to a little over 800 employees now, and and doubled, building space, and then we built our own building and have another building next door to us, and it's been a rocket ship, to say the least. So, in my role at Podium, I was started out in the sales world. Moved up, and I now lead the team that runs our vertical specific to HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. And that was kind of my baby from the get-go, from when I was just a sales guy all the way up to where we are today.
Gotcha.
So I have a passion for it. I love the industry. I love helping companies in the industry, and so it's been a really great ride. It's one of our strongest verticals for sure.
Okay, so we're having this conversation, but can you clarify for me? What is Podium?
Yeah, Podium, in a nutshell, we like to think of ourselves as an interaction management platform. So it's like the engine that drives engagement with a customer. So, for instance, if you have a customer that has an issue, we see it as they're just always on their phones communicating with their peers and their family, and so businesses need to start to adapt that mentality of communicating how customers want to be met, right? Through their phone, through text. So the platform really helps a business engage their customers via text messaging and other messaging channels in general, and making it really easy in one consolidated place, and handling all these little nuances with engagement with your customer, like review requests, right? Payments, reminders, stuff like that.
Okay, so all right, so you mentioned text messaging, reviews, and payments. Can you go into a little bit more detail? Like, is this so what I envision in my head is that this is a text messaging platform that the entire company uses, so that everything doesn't go to one person's phone or desktop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the goal is to give kind of that consolidated messaging area where this all lives, but it's not owned by, the technician that has the relationship with the customer. It's not owned by the CSR that talked to the customer the most, and it's all on their cell phone. So the great thing about having that type of platform is an owner can top down get visibility into all these conversations that are taking place, and your team can also communicate with these customers on the same threads and pass it around internally, right? The customers are none the wiser. They're just texting and messaging with the business as far as they're concerned on their phone.
Yeah.
But the company is easily able to manage all those conversations centrally, and it's not owned on different people's cell phone numbers. We have an app where they can have access to these conversations, and that's all. We can get into permission settings and things like that, but
Okay.
it's a way to make it so it's not just one person's cell phone handling like all these important business conversations, right?
Okay, cool. So when you're saying that it's an app, so our client's not going to get my service techs or my service expert's phone number?
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
So we make either your existing phone number textable, or we assign a localized phone number that is a textable number for the business, right?
Sweet. Okay, yeah. So I have, before I forget, a buddy of mine, Adam, he's been on the podcast before, and it's been, it's probably been almost 2 years ago now that I got to get him back on the show. But I talked to him. I did a Facebook, like, just, hey, you ever heard of Podium? Like, what's Podium? Like, who's used Podium? Good, bad, ugly. Let's hear it. And Adam reached out to me, and he's like, dude, next level, life changer. Like, we use a lot of the other things that are automated, but since we put in Podium, like, our reviews have shot up. I don't want to misquote them, but it's some crazy percentage that it shot up. How would we get more reviews by using Podium versus, okay, so perfectly clear and transparent. We're on ServiceTitan. I have, like, ServiceTitan has kind of like the automated, as soon as you leave the geofence, sends out a text message. And it kind of says, ask for a rating or whatever. How does using Podium, is it better than doing something like that, or is it different, or what?
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah. There's a lot of nuances with it. Just to give a little context there. So about 2.5, maybe almost 3 years ago now, it seems time is flying, but we took investment.
I think 2020. So sorry to interrupt you, but I think 2020
No,
it can count as a null. So we can just, like, it's
it's like this asterisk year. We're not going to count it.
Yeah, I mean, we did really good. Well, you only grew 30%. Well, it's a 30% asterisk.
Right. It was 2020. So 30% is actually 150% by normal standards.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's, I guess, first of all, the function in ServiceTitan is a great step, and everyone should use that if they're not going to invest in a more sophisticated engine, right? But, a little over 2 years ago, I guess, Podium got investment money, and one of the investors in that round was Google, or Google Ventures. So I bring that up. When Podium first started out, we were mostly a review engine, right? We just drove we were the first to do the text review invitation. We pioneered that space.
Nice.
That's where we got a ton of traction, and that's when we got a lot of interest from investors. And then, of course, I bring them up specifically. Obviously, they're the biggest search engine in the world, but aside from that, it's the insights that we can get from them, right? So I think having them sit on our board is super helpful when we're looking at the future of the review economy. Because as you know, reviews are, even in the last 5 years, they've just exploded on as far as the main source of truth for a consumer looking to do business with anyone. Mm-hmm. So because we were so successful at driving that, and we got a lot of insights on how to optimize that further. Now, we don't have anything proprietary that, Google gives us specifically.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, okay, do we get some inside with Google here?
Yeah, but that being said, we've optimized our review flow as much as it ever possibly could be, and there's a lot of companies that are springing up fly by night that are now review generation companies. Because it's
Yeah.
anyone can text a review invitation. Anyone could. You could do it right now, right?
Right.
But the whole point of it is it optimized and can it maximize the ease of use for the end user. So we do a lot more than just reviews, of course, but that specific piece we do so well. And we have so many businesses that use Podium and have had exponential return on those reviews. Like I always talk about reviews are great to get, but if you're not driving consistency of those reviews, meaning like if you're doing 100 jobs a month
Mm-hmm.
and you're not driving that weekly volume of reviews, you're really not as relevant in those local searches as companies that are driving that weekly consistency, right? So
it makes
we
sense.
really
So if you got like
that
50
point.
of them, if you got 50 reviews right quick, and then like trickled in one every month
Right.
or 2 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, if I was Google and I seen something like that, I'd be like, okay, maybe those first 50 might have kind of been spammy or
Oh yeah.
even like purchased or something like that.
Yeah, we know. So Google has all sorts of information about consumer behavior around reviews too, which is interesting because that specific thing you're talking about is what can happen, right? A company bursts on the scene, and I'm sure you've seen this with people
Absolutely.
you've worked with, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a new guy. I'm starting out my HVAC company. I just left this other company. Hey, friends and family, leave me reviews, right? And then there's this flood of reviews, and then there's nothing after that. So Google knows those things, right? It's not going to say, hey, you're not relevant, but over the next 3 weeks, your relevancy is going to drop substantially because you're not able to consistently maintain that volume of consistent Google reviews. So we're always big fans of like, hey, drive this consistency, and you've got to make that as easy and actually brainless easy as possible for the consumer to give that review, right? So, and that's kind of full circle come back. That's where that simplicity of our process, again, it drives that type of consistency for the business to receive those reviews. So we've made it as simple as possible.
Now, with that simplicity that you mentioned, when they click the link that we send out with, as soon as the service expert leaves the home, is that going to send them to a landing page where they have to go, or do they have to go to Google? Is it going to send them somewhere where they can pick where to do the reviews, or do they have to do Google?
Well, it's a good question because it's really up to the business owner.
Okay.
So obviously, we recommend that the first option is Google for that customer to see, because that's where the reviews really matter the most. But look, I mean, you've got some guys that do heavy marketing in Facebook, and they're wanting visibility in these neighborhood groups and things like that. So if they're really driving a certain campaign, they could put Facebook as the first option for however long they wanted, and then just switch it back whenever they were done. But that's completely up to you. Oh, go ahead.
Is it just Facebook and Google?
No, you can really point reviews to wherever you needed to. Like if you had an Angie's List that you were doing, you could point them there. We just say Facebook and Google as far as just complete relevancy in the search marketplace, right? You can point to BBB if you wanted, Yahoo. I mean, it's really up to the business.
the evil Y.
Don't say it.
I'm not going to say
Yelp.
Oh. Somebody said it.
I did it. No, man. They're their own animal.
They are.
They don't like to play by the normal rules of things.
Absolutely.
I don't want to speak ill of another platform necessarily, but it's their own policy, so you can't solicit reviews at all proactively on that platform. So we don't mess with it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. They're a legalized mafia for sure.
Your words?
My words. I will speak from my experience. I was conned into, or I'd say use the word con loosely. I decided to spend a little bit of money on Yelp. And then when I was like, hey, I'm not getting any ROI on this, I canceled it. And all of a sudden, the 5 reviews that I had were now under recommended.
Yeah, they're all.
And
then
magically, I had one
really bad one that's highlighted.
That's the only one that showed.
Yeah,
like, thanks.
I could go an hour on that alone, Tersh, so
I could too.
Schedule me another time.
So how about the texting platform? Because I was told that we talked a little bit about texting and how it's on an app. But with ServiceTitan, there was the texting, which was amazing when it first came out. Like it was like, oh yeah, we've needed this. But then the flaw that I find, and I believe that's being developed currently, but I don't know for 100%. But I know that like after hours, if I get an after hours call or a text message, I might not know until the next day. Is it integrated so that I can see that chat too?
Yeah. So, just to touch on that. So, a lot of the more successful companies and a lot of companies really will gravitate to using both Podium with ServiceTitan because we consider ourselves best in class for what we do. Right.
Yeah.
In my opinions, I'm sure people have varied ideas of the best CRM out there, but I think ServiceTitan is by far the one of the best CRMs on the platform, if not the best, or in the space. But that can only, and what I'm getting at is they can be really best in class at a lot of things, but they cannot be every single thing perfectly to everybody. And that's not unique to this industry. That's a software problem across any industry, consolidation of one platform to do it all, right? Okay. So with that being said, they put out a feature that was really great for a lot of businesses and it fits to a point. But where Podium comes in is we're a very robust messaging engine where ServiceTitan is kind of limited to the one conversation on one view of that customer record. Right. You have to go into the record to see the conversation. There's no consolidated view. There's no multi-messaging automations and things like that we do. So where people will use Podium is to really drive that one view to see all messages, notification. We have rich notifications. So after hours, you can have automated response, or you can have it go specifically to someone for after hours and things like that. So
and that's
there's all those nuances.
ServiceTitan, or is
no,
is that with other platforms too?
That's with other platforms as well. We integrate with a lot of them. ServiceTitan, obviously, the most notably, but ESC Desco, we have Service Fusion, Successware. We have integrations with all of them. House Call Pro. So we can do these functions across a lot of dispatch softwares. But my point being is that if you're looking at being a messageable or textable business, you got to have flexibility to facilitate that. You can't just say, hey, here's one number where these messages will come in and one person can see it if they're paying attention, right? Yeah, it's got to be, the boss sees it, his operations people can get notified if it's a specific message. I mean, we've got routing and things like that we can do, but it's a little more than you would think about, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So other than CRM, because so it seems like I'm thinking about our conversation. It sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but
no, it's okay.
I feel like Podium is solving a lot of my complaints. Facebook pages sucks. Like Facebook, if you're listening to this, yeah, you should be listening to this. But Facebook pages sucks. I get a gazillion notifications, and one of those notifications that is hidden in there is, hey, your business page has a message and somebody has inboxed you.
Right.
So can we communicate the same way we do with ServiceTitan for Facebook?
Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. And just to echo your sentiment there, that's across a lot of businesses have that same exact complaint, right? You're trying to get out there to as many groups as you can, and then you're getting just inundated with notifications from it. And then if you're not watching super closely, that thing you were trying to accomplish is sitting in your inbox and you're 2 days behind on it or something. Yeah. So to answer your question, Podium is a consolidated messaging tool as well. So we'll pull in really anywhere that your message enabled, like Facebook, of course. So Facebook Messenger messages will route into Podium inbox and notify, again, who you want to get notified. So you're not sitting there with, your Facebook tab you've got to watch all day and things like that.
You have to have 3 extra monitors just for the different
your
tabs.
messaging platforms. So we'll consolidate that. We'll consolidate. Even Apple has business chat. They're going to start opening up to smaller businesses. I think you've seen Apple Business Chat across a lot of large Fortune 500 businesses, but that'll start opening up. And then you got Google has a click to text function in Maps, right?
Oh yeah.
So we'll pull those in. Instagram, if someone's heavy on Instagram, we'll pull those conversations in Podium as well. So it's pretty sweet because you'll see where the conversation comes from and be able to engage them on Podium. And again, have all those same functions of Podium, right? Like, hey, I'm handling the sales conversation initially, but now I'm going to kick it off to dispatch. So it's going to go to Steve in dispatch. Steve gets notified. He handles the conversation, but the customer doesn't even know they just got handed off. They're just in a thread of conversation, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty slick.
It is funny because I'll actually pull it up really fast. So like I said earlier, we use Podium. Oh, I have a little red dot in Podium right now. Oh, somebody applied for a job. That's always good. I love seeing those. So Jen says, come on, Jen. Apparently Jen said a lot. We talked a lot to Jen. There we go. Oh no, that's not it. Come on. Wow, we talked to a lot of people. All right. I went back 3 days. I felt like it was a couple of days ago. Apparently it wasn't. So she said something to the effect of, I'm not sure if I'm talking to Matt or Julie or Tersh, but we're running like 15 minutes behind and we're going to be on our way. And then instantly Julie responded with, this is Julie, and taking care of. And Julie's, it's really funny because this client she's a great person. She's super bubbly, and Julie's super bubbly, whereas I have kind of like a dry, I'll tell you exactly what it is, but it's going to be a lot less words.
Right. So she's like, she can know who she's talking to.
That's not the same person I talked to a second ago. Like,
that's funny.
So, yeah,
but that's what's cool about it, right? Like,
yeah, we just crossed right across there, and it was seamless. I mean, it's all seamless. And then like, especially if it's an open chat, and I just like, okay, I'm gonna assign this to Julie. So it's gonna be on Julie's platform. Like I can still see it if I want to see it, or if it's just, I can just see the stuff that's assigned to me if I want to see just that stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So also I was told about web chat. So we had a web chat. We have a web chat. And it is really good, but so web chats, I feel like they're sold at two different things, but Podiums is the third that you don't hear about. So it's either going to be a bot or it's going to be a live CSR that doesn't know HVAC. Maybe you have a CSR company that is trade specific and they know HVAC. So you like, that's your one up. But what's the third, like, or fourth, whatever? I got four fingers up. What's the fourth one there
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? Is meeting the customer where they want to be met, and that's on their cell phone through a text conversation. So the difference of our web chat tool versus what you're seeing out there is, I guess let me back up, because one of the byproducts of getting consistent reviews, I was talking about that a little bit earlier, is when there's an increase in visibility on your Google My Business, just by virtue of having more reviews, people naturally make their way to that portion of your page, and it's on their cell phone, mind you. So they're seeing that I can call you on your Google page, I can message, I can go to your address or see your address or go to your website. So we're seeing a direct correlation between the amount of reviews, and then you're going to see web traffic increase as well. It's just a natural byproduct of the two. So first of all, if that's happening, you need a way to simply capture those leads. And the thing about the HVAC space that's unique as opposed to like different, like retail and things of that nature, is your consumer is extreme micro moment, meaning
Oh yeah.
they are making a fast decision because the emergency need or the emergency nature to the need. So they don't spend a lot of time like scrolling and looking and, decide. They're just largely looking at the review component, and then they're going to interact with your GMB. And if they are doing that and they go to the website, how easy are you to communicate with the way they want, right? Like, because if I'm at work and wife's texting me or whatever, hey, AC's not working and it's hot and it's getting hot air on, you know what I mean? Like he's not in a position to just start calling everyone and getting bids or anything like that. So
True.
We're making it super convenient for that type of individual to then go to your website and click a link. And I can show you what it looks like if you don't have the visual, but essentially it's, hey, you land on the website, it has a little pop-up that says, have any questions, text us. And the reason that's important is because now, instead of feeling any trepidation about clicking that little chat with us link, because I know it's going to be what you said, it's either going to be a bot or a third-party company that handles your conversations, and they're all essentially trying to just get the same information, right?
Right.
You're not going to really answer my question. You're just going to say, when can I schedule you, right? Or what? and consumers know that. And granted, there is always a return to those elements. That's why they exist. But we want to make it a little bit more convenient for that customer and the business owner. So when you offer them a text us option, they put in their name, their phone number, and their initial inquiry. They automatically get a text message back on their cell phone saying, hey, thanks for contacting, ABC Air.
Yeah.
Someone will be texting you shortly. So the great thing and the differentiator here is they can now go about their day, jump off your site. They don't need to wait for that live agent response, which can create a bad customer experience, especially if they have to wait. And then when they wait, they just get, hey, can I get your name and address? I'll have someone contact you. Like
it's like, oh, I waited for all of this time for that.
Right. And the cool thing is once the customer texts you the business, you as the business then get a message notification that can go to whoever you want, first of all. So you get the right person handling these inbound leads, essentially is what we're calling it.
Yeah.
So if you're getting these leads, you can get these people in the hands of the right person. And the cool thing about text, and this is where we've seen a lot of data around consumer behavior and conversations, right? So a consumer is totally fine with a 5 to 10 minute lag between a text message. They are absolutely not cool with a 1 minute delay on a live chat. So it's literally just this shift in perception for them, right? Because you're texting me and all my daily conversations are, if I text you and you text me 5 minutes later, I'm cool. I don't care, right?
Right. Now, if it's 5 days later, I'm like, all right, man.
There's a limit, right? There's a finite amount of time, but I'm just saying from an HVAC perspective, as an owner or even in operations, right? Like you have some flexibility there as opposed to these live chats. So people always worry about, I got to have someone man this. It's like, no, you can just kind of integrate it with what you're doing and have whoever you want handling these conversations get notified. And then and the cool thing, there's a mobile app. So they don't have to be in front of a computer to handle that conversation. They can pull out their app and start texting that customer right when they can. So anyway, that's the unique aspect of it. And in home services and HVAC specifically, which is really cool, we have an average response rate that is 10% across the board. Not response rate, I'm sorry, conversion rate on these conversations that happen. So 10% across our entire company. We have 55,000+ users, and a 10% conversion is unheard of.
Wow.
But in HVAC specifically, we're closer to 12 to 15% on that conversion. And I think that has a lot to do with product market fit.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about your own business. 10 conversations even in a month, like what's your close rate, right?
Oh, totally. And well, my thought was when you were first talking about it going to text, immediately as a business owner, I was thinking, all right, so I kind of thought this was going to be incognito and we were trying to make them think it was a web chat. But for what you said about them finding it acceptable to wait 5 minutes on a text message versus 1 minute being over, too long on a web chat, that makes it so that like, hey, look, I want them to know that it's a text message conversation with a live person, not a bot. So that's really cool. And I love the fact that, because like there's a couple of different services that I use that I happen to use their web chats. And then I'll accidentally click off of that site. Like it's one of my tabs, and I'll accidentally use that tab to go to a new page. I'm like, crap, I got to start this whole process over again. And so it's awesome that you're taking it straight off of there and putting it on a text messaging platform. So that's legit. Like it very much sounds to me, like you said, that interaction management platform. It's no joke that I back probably 2015, maybe. I think I kind of looked into Podium, and it was very much review management. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that would align with that timing.
Okay.
It was funny because it was kind of a natural progression into messaging, because people would text back with a review invite. And once we were looking at that much data, we realized, man, people want to engage. And anyway, go ahead.
I just remember thinking back then, I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is like legit. 2015, I had a different startup that was a couple years old. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty legit. But I had a business partner, and I just couldn't sell him on it. I couldn't sell him on that one thing. And then here we are, full circle a couple years later, and it's like, wow, how much has changed. And it truly is that communication and going to where the consumer is at, instead of trying to pull the consumer to where you're at.
Right.
I think for the past 30 years, that's what we've done in the HVAC industry, is kind of pulled people where we thought they should go. And now it's like, oh, like that's not how it's going to work out. We need to go where they are.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have put that any better. There's an absolute noticeable shift as well in the last just year and a half, 2 years alone, of businesses adopting messaging just in general. And so as that becomes norm in the collective consciousness of people, they're all going to start expecting that type of interaction. And
our clients now
do that.
It's so crazy, because our clients now, they'll say, hey, watch, like I've had one of we have a great relationship with some real estate clients, and they're like, hey, watch, as soon as you get this text message, you're going to get this text message, and it's going to and then they say they're going to show up, and they're going to lay out their rug, and then they're going to put on orange booties, and every time it's orange booties, and then they're going to come in the house, and and they're like, just watch them. And now it's like, crap, if one of my guys shows up and doesn't have that rug with our logo on it, or if they have blue booties instead of orange booties, like it's going to throw us in all kinds of a turmoil, especially if Chelsea's there and she's telling somebody to watch, and then she's like, the one time that I told them to watch.
You guys failed. That's funny.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So and like you said about the text messaging, that is legit. I remember when ServiceTitan first came out with text messaging, there were quote unquote text messaging platforms, but it was not like an integration. It was a very much, okay, we've dispatched, now we have to go to this platform and do text message. I think it was like Verizon. You had to go to Verizon, text message from whatever, from your desktop. And it was very Newsome, and it was very much like, hire another person in the office to get this done.
And then that's the problem, where like that one person owns it, and it can't be owned by someone who doesn't have all the little things down, right? Like an operations guy might know something more specific about that question that he can't seamlessly just jump in. So it centralizes the communication, which is never a good thing.
Yeah. But, so when ServiceTitan came about and doing it, I was like, oh yeah, like cutting edge. And then it was like, well, what about this? And then what about that? And like you said, it's like you wanted to, I mean, you can't do it all. Like at ServiceTitan, they can't be Podium. Well, at least not right now. Like it takes a long time to develop stuff like that. It's taken Podium 5 years to go from where I first had a conversation with Podium to now. And it's a massive difference, and it's really amazing. And one of the things that I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then ServiceTitan was like, you can't do that. And it was, I wanted to send a different message for each service expert, because we create videos introducing the service expert before they get to the job. So I want to say, hey, hey, this is Bradley. I'm the service expert that's headed your direction. I have, 2 kids. I have 18 years in Navy, prior service Navy, like all this stuff. And I wanted to be able to send that for each individual person. And that was not an option for ServiceTitan. Is that something that I can do?
Yeah. So we have pre-built templates that you can have go out based off of who the technician is, right? So in those template formats, you could essentially build the little about me text, but also include a link to like a YouTube video or whatever you wanted to have that go out to the job. So yes, I'd have to double check on the seamlessness of the integration, because I know we'll do tech on the way. So I'm assuming we can be just based off of that API tie-in, but I'd double check that just before I start, flapping my gums saying yes to everything. But it is a really deep integration. Now across the other platforms, I cannot guarantee that same function ability, but we do have technician on the way, dispatch, things that can be done on all those other platforms. I'm not 100% on that. But.
Oh, sweet. That's my goal with every episode, is ask a question that you have to go back and check on.
Yeah, you nailed it. Got me. That's like your gotcha moment, right?
That's my goal.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Is there something that I didn't ask or didn't talk about?
Well, I think one of the things too, specific to an HVAC contractor, is service maintenance that I think is a really important note here. So you have a service maintenance program, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, just this is gleaned off my own research, but in conversations I've had, but a lot of times those programs, and I don't know if you charge annually or if you're more of a monthly type billing program, but either way.
We do both.
You do both. Okay. So what we've seen is that type of program is a leaky bucket. So you got the top of the funnel coming in every time you guys do a service job. Someone signs up, it's great. They're excited about it right then. But the one of the biggest reasons for the attrition on those programs is lack of getting them scheduled for that fall or spring tune-up, right? And this is something like we kind of stumbled into because of the product market fit, was we have a bulk texting option where, so if you have little buckets of customers that you're trying to get scheduled for the spring, instead of sending them postcards and leaving voicemails, emails, right? We make it simple so you could send off a text message to those segmented groups that you decide in bulk, so they can get scheduled to get that service done. And I was on one of those programs with a company that uses us out here in Utah, but or they hadn't used us at the time, but I signed up for it because I had it was my previous house. I had an older unit, and I figured, the service I had, I was like, I'll just, I didn't want to swap it out just yet because I was going to sell the house. So I was like, for the next year, I should probably be on something like this.
Yeah.
And when they called to get me scheduled, I was so busy. I'd get voicemails, and then when I drive home, I'm just like mindless. The last thing I'm gonna do is respond to voicemails I have, right? And then I ended up canceling because I was like, I'm never gonna find the time. I was traveling a lot, and then it just dawned on me, like, this is what happens to you guys with consumers. If you're playing phone tag, and if they don't respond, they're going to eventually cancel because they're going to see that transaction and they didn't get the value they think they're supposed to get, right? So bulk texting really solves a portion of that attrition, and it also increases the rate at which you're going to schedule them. So it really makes it a lot more effective to text these customers in that scenario, as opposed to some of the methods you're used to seeing deployed. So I just bring that up because I think from a value standpoint, that in and of itself can help you grow that portion of your business, but also curb the attrition on it, right?
Yeah. Now, does it have to be Does it have to be to schedule a maintenance?
No. The one thing that I should be careful here. The one
Right.
thing with it, we don't want people bulk spamming their customers with marketing content, because then
That's what I was thinking.
you're violating federal texting laws, which we closely watch, right? So we have different filters. So if we see a customer with abusing that type of functionality, we have to shut it down, just protecting our own terms of
Yeah.
service. So, but if it's in the vein of the service that they're already signing up for, you don't require their opt-in.
Okay.
So as long as they've agreed to do business with you, you can text them all you want, as long as it's in relationship to what they're doing, right? What they have. So you can bulk text customers about, scheduling and things like that. But when you're trying to spam them with a $20 off coupon for your service,
Yeah.
that's when you're getting into that violation portion. So
how about this? We we've had a lot of feedback from clients saying that they would love to have, like, I've asked if they'd like to have this or not, a monthly email reminder. Hey, it's time to change your air filter.
Yeah,
Could you do
absolutely.
like
You
that?
could do something like that, because if it's part of your service,
mm-hmm.
and will offer that, like, it's not something you're asking them for money, basically. When it just black and white, if you're not asking them for more money, you're fine, right? So if it's in the vein of you're giving them a friendly reminder about, hey, it's this time of year, or it's time for you to do a filter change, you absolutely can do that and schedule those out.
Sweet. Oh, so you can pre-schedule the text message. Oh, that's
yeah. So that would one-off to those customers, and that's a function within ServiceTitan. So you can set up automated scheduling type or schedule type messages, and then you just make that template of the message to be around the air filter for that customer.
Oh man, that's cool. So that's something I could take off my plate that I don't have to remember to do every month.
Right.
Oh, that's what's up. All right, cool. What else did I not ask about?
Well, we do have another, and we have a lot of functions. But I'm speaking specific to HVAC. There's another one, we have payments. So a lot of times
tell me about that.
Yeah. So a lot of people have already, the terminals and things like that. So this is something that I would recommend as an augmentation or another option you can provide in the event of collecting a payment, right? If they didn't have the card on site, or they're really, with COVID going on, they're really trepidatious about contacting you, or physical contact with your card and their card. So we have a payments option where it's as simple as sending them a text message to collect payment right from their phone. They click on a link. They can either automatically pay through Apple Pay, or they could put in their credit card right then on their phone and hit send, and then you would get payment, right? You can set up, I believe this next month we have it set up for monthly reoccurring transactions that can happen.
Okay.
But right now it's just one-off payments. But I mean, you think about like a deposit on an install, or just the service, and they don't want to talk or interact with the technician because of COVID or something, you could send that text message. So it's contactless, it's seamless. The rates are super competitive for no card present. It's like 2.49 and a 30-cent transaction fee. But you actually have that now. So anyone that's a Podium customer can use that function. That's not a added sale cost or anything like that. So.
Oh, okay, cool. That was gonna be my next question. Is that an add-on?
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, no, it's free technically, except for the per transaction costs.
Yeah. Nice.
I think Canada it's 2.99%, by the way. So 2.99 for any Canadian listeners you have out there.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine. He's in Canada. As a matter of fact, I haven't talked to him in about a month. I need to call him. Everything. He's like, is that Canadian or is that American?
Yeah. You always give them a price, and they're like, "That's CAD, right?" Really? Like, nah, no, nope. That's USD. I'm sorry.
Cool, man. Matt, I appreciate all of your information. Where can I get in contact with you again?
So
contact info.
So you can go matt@podium.com. Anyone that wants to, we have a starter account that people could try out if they wanted. So it's
sweet.
podium.com, and they can get started, and they can mess with some functions. There's limits on usage and stuff, but it's just a nice little easy way that they could check some things out. But that's pretty much it. And of course, they're always welcome to call as well. Or if you have any questions, you can contact me or call me.
Sweet. And that's Matt with 2 T's.
Correct. Yeah. Don't trust anyone with the 1 T. No offense, guys, but should have been 2.
That's funny. That's hilarious. Cool. And then podium.com.
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
All sorts of information.
Sweet, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Likewise, Tersh. Appreciate you having me on, man. It was awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you if you're listening to or watching this episode of the Service Business Mastery podcast. It is a podcast focused on service business owners, managers, and technicians who are considering becoming business owners themselves. I hope today on today's episode, we were able to answer some unasked questions that you may have had. So until next